Hello, my screen is telling me I've gone live. So I'm looking at Aaron in the backstage green room and I'm looking for the thumbs up. I think he gave me the thumbs up. Hey, everybody, it's Wednesday, so it must be time to talk to Will. And I just cannot believe that I've been doing this for weeks now and just honored and privileged to be able to talk to someone besides myself and that there are people that actually want to have a conversation. For those of you who have not watched, or those of you who are watching the replay, I started doing this because I'm a LinkedIn enthusiast. I love to share, I love to talk, I love to connect with people, and here I am. Started this live weekly show, and I really did it with the intent to introduce you to people who inspire me. So I try to pick a theme. I'm growing as I'm doing this, and I appreciate everybody's support. Please, in the comments, tell me where you're coming in from, because I know that there are many enthusiasts around the world who watch this. And even if you're watching the replay, please be sure to jot down where you're coming. Today's topic, folks, is community and building community. I'm on this platform. I'm doing what I'm doing here because I love people. And as I said, I love connecting. And so this video format and this live format has given me the opportunity to introduce all of you to those who inspire me. Community. Let's talk about that. Aaron Barreiro, and I hope I have your last name right. I want to say it with gusto. He is a young man that came into the community through Cindy Kahn. Cindy, if you're there, say hey, hey. She's going to be a future guest. And she introduced me to this really highly intelligent young man who is building his own community. So I asked him, would you come and talk to this group? Because this is an energetic group. And he honored me by saying yes. So I'm going to bring him up onto the stage and I'll go through some introductions here to see where everybody's coming from, but I'm going to let Aaron do the talking. And I told him before this started, I'm going to do something that I rarely do, and that is try to shut up so you can hear his story and not hear me drone on. So Aaron, if you're ready, I'm bringing you on. Hey, Aaron. Great to see you. You're on mute. I see the mute
I will.
button. So how are you, sir?
I'm doing
glad
really
to
well.
have you here today. I'm going to
Thank you
look
so
at the
much.
comments before you start introducing yourself to see who's here. We've got Joseph. Hey, Joseph. He always gets the crowd going. I could just imagine going to a barbecue at his house in Florida. We've got our friend Jason, who's cheering us on. Joseph, a couple of more times. Loving that boom, Joseph. We've got kind David Hansen from the West Coast. We've got Michelle Cordy, who can just bring you on the depths of depression. She's done that for me. So thank you, Michelle. We've got Gail, and we've got lots of Joseph and Michelle, David. There's a fan club here. There's a theme. Aaron, who are you? Maybe this is the way to introduce yourself. So now I'm going to live up to my promise and be quiet. Aaron, who are you?
Hi. Super privileged to be here, Will. Who am I? I mean, I am someone that really believes in community building. My wife and I moved to Mexico 4 years ago to help people in underprivileged communities. We literally live here. We live in the outskirts of a small town here in Mexico, and we're doing our best to leverage community to help a lot of youth in the area. And so my entire life I've believed in community. I just never knew how to vocalize it until recently, on how it's a, an incredible way to make a positive impact in the world. And so that's what I'm here to do. I believe in helping people, and in any way that we can, whether it's just by being kind and being loving, sharing our stories. I know it all goes a long way.
So one of the things that in following you and seeing your posts, I just see so much heart and there's so much depth in what you post and what you do. And many of us are on LinkedIn or on different platforms because we are trying to grow a community. This is kind of a newish format where you can reach out to people, you can build that sense of community, but your story is absolutely incredible. If you don't mind, would you talk a little bit about how you and your wife and all that you've been through, because you're authentic and you are really trying to make a difference in a community, and it isn't just to build a number of followers. So do you want to tell the folks about your story?
Yeah, I think authenticity is at the core of everything for me. I think being authentic is harder for people because it takes longer, right? We see people and we compare ourselves and we think, man, we look at where people have gotten, and sometimes it feels like taking the long route isn't as rewarding. But there is always something rewarding about being authentic and just sharing who you really are and letting that shine through. And so for me, that's kind of just been my whole life. I've always cared about helping people, and everywhere that I've gone, whether it was in college, whether it was in high school, I always think about when I was a kid. Like my dad was great. Like I would get out of school, and my dad would always pick me up, and at least once a week I would surprise my dad and tell him, "Hey, Dad, I want to take this person home because they don't have a ride." And I wouldn't tell him in advance; he would have no idea. But I just always liked helping people, and I always had an environment to help others. And so that's kind of what's
So it's
guided
in
me
your
as a
DNA. It's in your DNA, right?
yes, I think I have wonderful, wonderful parents that have really given me that example of just being kind and loving to everyone. And so that's always been my guiding principle. People talk about purpose a lot. And when I was young, I thought about purpose all of the time because it was just kind of one of those things where I wanted to know why we're here, why we matter, right? And ultimately, I kind of came down to this idea that no matter what I do in life, I always want to make sure that I'm helping other people. And if I can help other people, whether it's in my job, whether it's what I do on my off time, then I know that something is going right in my life. And so that's the same thing that we've done here as we've landed in Mexico.
So and I don't want to put you on the spot, and I don't want you to share things you don't want to speak about. But what brought you to Mexico, right? It's an interesting story, and you posted about it, so anyone can go through your posts and you can read it. And I encourage everybody to do just that. Read your posts and follow you. You want to tell the group your story?
Of course. So May 10th, 2018 was when we landed in Mexico. We're right across the border in a place called Matamoros. And we originally got there because my wife had a commitment to work with an organization here. And honestly, the plan was to be here for only 2 years. I had never thought about living in Mexico. I have heritage to Mexico, but I had never had a desire to learn about the place, the country, its people. I was ready to leave everything behind, and this was not part of our plan. But obviously, my wife is extremely important to me. We met the year before, and things kind of moved really quickly. We got married, and we decided to do this together. So the plan was to be here for 2 years, help this organization that was working with kids in the area. And honestly, after spending just a few months here, I told my wife, like, I have no idea how we can just leave. Like, I don't think 2 years is going to be enough time because the the struggles that people face here, especially youth, on having an opportunity to get ahead, on having an opportunity to change, their family tree. This idea of like really taking control of their lives for a lot of people here, it's out of reach. I used to always think that there wasn't like a really strong cultural idea in the United States, but when I landed in Mexico, I understood that if there's one thing that we all share in the United States, it's this idea of the American dream. This idea that there is always a chance to pursue what we
You
care
can
about.
improve, you can try, that sort of thing, right? Right.
And in Mexico, a lot of people don't have that. Like they honestly believe that they might be in the same house for the rest of their lives, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I also heard and saw a lot of kids that were hurting, a lot of youth that did want opportunity that didn't know how to get it. And so we decided to stay, and now we've been here for 4 years, and we have plans to be here for at least another 5 to 7 years, establishing our nonprofit that's focused on empowering youth in these
That's
communities
great.
that we live in.
That's really fantastic. And the thing that I think drew me to you, right, because of your intelligence and your depth, was the very fact that you're also a numbers person, right? We've exchanged different messages back and forth about following the numbers, how many people are following. You've also talked about growing your community and how you can do your LinkedIn community and how you could do this, but you do it in such a real way. And watching you grow that, the one thing that I also loved about you, you're not about the numbers, right? You and I are, if you allow me to say it, numbers geeks, right? I love numbers and I love competing against myself, and you tune into that. But you've said it. It's quality over quantity. So talk about how you've been building your LinkedIn community, because you're doing incredible work there in Mexico. But like, what made you just reach out to the virtual world and do this?
So the community we're building in Mexico is the why that drives everything that I'm doing on LinkedIn. Uh, we actually fund everything that we do with the nonprofit out of pocket. I've been working remotely before COVID, and we've done everything in that way. And so 4 years really hustling and grinding to make things work kind of made me come to a point where I spoke to my wife. My wife's name is Rosanelli, everyone.
Rosanelli, yes,
And
you did a beautiful post about her. Everybody should like that one too.
she is amazing. And I spoke to her and I told her, like, there's nothing wrong with what we've been doing, but if we're going to continue our lives this way, and work is always going to be a way in which we facilitate our giving, then we need to do it differently. And so, long story short, I read this book called The One Thing, that I definitely recommend everyone check out. And it really put me on this path to figuring out how can we accomplish all of our goals by following just one really specific thing that can make a huge impact. And I landed on LinkedIn. Um, LinkedIn was launching this thing called the Creator Accelerator Program. I had applied, I didn't get in, but I told myself, I'm just going to do whatever I can to make this work anyways. And I knew from the beginning that I was going to be consistent and I was going to be as sincere and as honest as possible. And instead of looking just at, when you talk about growing your community and looking at the numbers, the biggest number I was always trying to pay attention to was the number of comments. Like, I wanted to really, really become create a space where people felt like they could contribute, where they could come and just be themselves, like share things that they may not share anywhere else. And that above everything has been my driving force on behind the content that I create. And that has really created this powerful community of people that are sincere, that are transparent, and are growing in this similar way of really being authentic.
This morning I had posted, I did a post that came across, I love taking images or quotes, things that inspire me, and I put them out there, and that anyone comments or engages with it is wonderful. But it really was about, shining your light, not dimming. And I was someone who did shrink myself, right? We're from different worlds, we're different from different generations, obviously. But I used to dim myself to fit in, right? I grew up in an environment where you're supposed to kind of fit into a mold, right? And I'm not criticizing or blaming that. That is very much what we've been through. And that was my path. I've been breaking out of it. I love this format, and I love just this improv kind of conversations with people. But there's another thing you talked about through social change, right? You understand the power of that. I'm learning the power of that, and I'm loving this medium. So that's important to you too. So how do you see, what's your trend? Because everybody who's listening, you need to follow Aaron. I've done people in my life, and I've hired people, and I've met so many people. And I'm going to share something. I never shared this with Aaron. There's only a few times where I have kind of felt, if the word's intimidated, or a sense of, wow, I'm in the presence of something great. And Aaron, I'm not putting you on the spot. It is absolutely true. And I believe that you're going to do remarkable things. And I'm just honored that I can get in early to say I knew Aaron before he was doing all these wonderful things. But how do you see, right? You're a different generation. I'm figuring this out. How do you see how we can take the energy of this community here, your community, and do it in a virtual way and have that impact socially?
When I first started on LinkedIn, I was playing around a lot with like how I wanted to share my message. And if you look at my headline today, one of the biggest parts on it, it says that community building can change the world. And we love throwing that phrase around, that we can change the world. But I honestly do believe if there is a way that we can, it's through community building, right? You know, when we think about a lever that we need to make things possible, community building is that lever. And when it's community building focused with a powerful purpose, right? That's what's going to create a transformational aspect to any group, any group of people that come together for a single purpose. And so the biggest thing is as knowing what your purpose is, like really understanding what you want to accomplish. What is the social impact, the social change that you want to drive with your online community? And honestly, once you identify that, the end result makes a lot of sense, right? Because the idea of if you can bring enough people together to care about one thing, all of a sudden now the impact that you could have had as an individual is
Right.
being multiplied by
Right.
thousands upon thousands.
Right.
And so that's the how, right? Now the difficult part is building that community. You have to have a brand. You have to really know how to communicate what it is that you care about. You have to really understand how to develop that message in a way that resonates with people. But once you do it and you put in the work and you build that community, all of a sudden now you have a really powerful group of really motivated and people that are aligned around one idea. And that's where I believe the most positive social impact can be made. And that's what I want to inspire people to do. Like whether it's through their business, whatever it is that they do, like I want people to be guided by a powerful purpose focused on making a positive social impact.
I'm going to take notes from you and just continue to see all that you're doing because I jumped into this. So, I've shared the story. Pre pandemic, I did what I did and I loved bringing people together in the physical realm. I've done that my entire life. And so I lived in a box, an actual building or in a physical space. So and I talk about this a lot, I had this calling to do more. I loved what I did and I loved the communities and I didn't really think of them as staff or coworkers or colleagues. Yes, they were, but it was just wow, this wonderful energy to deal with thousands of guests a day and hundreds of staff members each day and colleagues and friends. Something within me clicked, and the power of the pandemic brought me to a place of wow, I didn't know what Microsoft Teams was. Zoom, what is that? I rarely used FaceTime, but the world changed because of the lockdowns. And then you start to see there's a whole new art form. So when I left my old life, I was thinking, well, okay, yeah, you self proclaimed people person. Now you've left all your people and you're going to talk to a screen. And what I've watched happen in under a year is to be able to grow this community. And to your point, it just grows. And I'm not shy and I'm not ashamed to say, I really want a big community and I really want to know many people, not for myself or the ego stats, or what do they call them? The vanity metrics, right? It's like, oh wow, this number of people engaged. But within this realm, if you could touch upon people, right? How could I be having a conversation from the Upper West Side of Manhattan with you in Mexico had it not been for this medium? And that story just ripples and ripples and ripples. And I put in the bottom of the screen here for anybody to ask any questions. But tell me, what is it that you want to see, right? I want big, not for me. I want big because I believe that leadership, there needs to be kindness in the workplace, kindness in government. There's a lack of um, this belief that strong leaders can't be kind, strong
Yep.
leaders can't do things. So what's the thing that you're the most passionate about?
So I think there's a couple of answers to this question, right? And I think you brought a really super powerful point about this platform and how we are bringing people together in a new way. Um, what's really unique about LinkedIn and the platform that it provides us, and I want to be really clear, it's a platform and it gives us a place to speak and to share, but it's only as incredible as it is because of the people that are here. right? The people that engage with us, the people that form these communities, like it's the people of LinkedIn that are the ones that are able to drive real change. And this platform just gives us a medium to have these conversations. And I always think about it like how unique of a platform we have because, you think about, I remember as a kid, like I played a lot of sports. I was an athlete and you look up to athletes and as you start growing up and you start seeing just the platform that athletes and celebrities have, they have millions upon millions of people that they can speak to. And that automatically means that they have built in hundreds of thousands of people that they could drive towards any cause that they cared about. And so I think the idea of having a large community like you're speaking about, Will, goes to this idea of what is the impact that comes with that community? What is the impact that comes with this just incredible group of people? And so when I think about what I want to accomplish and what I would love to see a community come together for is to address hard problems. I have this wonderful idea and I've shared it once in one post a long time ago now, 2 months ago. It feels 2 months on LinkedIn feels like
Yeah,
years.
yeah, it's old news, like, right.
But I shared this one post of like what I would love conferences to look like today. Instead of just having, these keynote speakers that are professionals and everyone shows up to just take notes on what they have to say, what I would love to see from conferences in the future and possibly even make this happen is where we get hundreds of people together and we focus on key issues. We focus on climate change. We focus on social justice. We focus on educational reform. And we just bring hundreds of passionate people that are professionals from all parts of the world, and we come together to create solutions. We come together to put our heads together and say this is really important. We all agree it's important. How do we work together to solve these really powerful and impactful social issues? And then the keynote speakers be people who explore the ideas from everyone coming together. And so to me, that's ideal world. If we could do that, like that's where I want to be. Like I just want people to work together to solve really important things.
I couldn't agree with you more. And what you had said struck me. I believe, this is just my belief, I have no study. We're at a point, right? We have so much technology. We have all the latest phones and gadgets. We can connect in super interesting ways. I myself am suspicious of anything that's overly packaged, overly produced, overly perfect. What I love, and I wouldn't be doing a live myself, had I not been jumping into other people's content and seeing, wow, they've got interesting story. And it's not a competition. It's they've got interesting things to say. And they're giving away tips for all of us to learn how to do this. And I'm finding that the platform itself just allows you to do exactly that. There's room for everyone.
Yep.
So the standard, corporate model of media and getting information and connecting with people, I really do believe, even in speaking engagements, you're not going to want that slick and polished the way that it once existed. I can't believe that I myself am being invited to join panels to speak to people and going on other folks' podcasts. And I really don't think it's about me personally, but all of us. You have it. You've got the drive and the fire to just get out there and talk, right? I said this to you. It's just bringing people together and people watching us having a conversation as though we were, I was at your home or you were here, or we went out to lunch, and I'm seeing in the comments, which is quite active, by the way, there are people out there thinking they haven't done a live, they want to do a live. I say apply for it through LinkedIn and do it. People will want to hear your story. People are hungry to look at those who are like all of us, right?
Yep.
You have an idea, you're passionate about something, and you just want to share it.
And I think that's so important because there's been this backwards idea that we have to wait for a lot of things. We have to wait for living the life we want to live, and we have to wait to give, and we have to wait to do all of these things until everything's perfect. And it's a backwards idea because you're never going to have perfection. And waiting means that you're going to spend 20 to 30 years of your life trying to build this perfect life that you're never going to achieve. And you could have spent that time doing these things that you care about. And that's, for me, my wife and I both just turned 29 last month. It's
Congrats.
a
I just feel a lot older, but congrats.
it's this thing where it's like, and I'm huge on being transparent. Like being 4 years in these past 4 years in Mexico, working remotely, we could have lived anywhere we want. Like we already have location freedom. We have the ability to pick up and move and go anywhere and to have lived in any part of the world that we have wanted, and we would have been okay. But we decided to stay here for a very specific reason, to serve our nonprofit and a lot of other things that have happened in that time. But that idea, like it has come across, and I've spoken to her, and I've told her, like, honestly, there are times where it's just like, why did we do this so young? Like most people do these kinds of things when they're in their 40s and 50s and 60s, and that's when it's time to give back. But we decided to start early, and even though I've had those kind of moments of, I would say, low moments, the reality is I 100% believe that the earlier you start pursuing what you care about, the earlier you start pursuing uh, actively trying to make a difference, the better uh, the better things are going to go, because you're spending more time learning, you're spending more time connecting people, you're spending more time putting energy into this really important thing. And so do not wait. Like if there's something you truly, truly care about that you want to make a difference for, like there's all kinds of ways that you can start now to make that difference.
Now, no secret here, I talk about my age all the time. I'm in my late 50s, right? And I just started to do what I'm doing because I have been blessed to be able to do it. And I just knew it was something I wanted to do. And so I guess it's relative. Like it's not about age or any of that. You've got to drive, you've got the ability to do it. You've got a community to support you. And I'm very fortunate that I also, what's the term? I have it here up the arena, location freedom. Heck yes, right? I live a dual life. My husband is Brazilian, and so we have a place here in New York and down in Rio. So to be able to create and speak and do this kind of work doesn't have to be in that physical location, because you can't reach the number of people you want to reach in a building, right? You've got to do it in a completely different way. And I believe that one of the best things that just happened in the last couple of years is that we have this freedom, right? This ability to do it in person and virtually. I know we're coming up on time, and I want to be mindful of your time. The comments are just incredible. We've got another one in my vintage. 60 last August. Andreas, congratulations. You've got decades. I'll invite you on. You could sit with me. Aaron will tell you I don't bite. I'm quite welcoming, I hope. We have a comment from Gail. I think starting early is good, Aaron. You have longer to make a difference than older folks for sure. Oh yes, that's a great way. We're passing the torch, right, Gail? That's really, really great. Joseph, he's using. Will Sullivan uses. Oh, I don't know what that means, but it must be that I have a youthful glow, perhaps. I don't know. I just like that. Let's see. Any other comments? And I'm sorry, folks, because you've been really, really active, and I am the producer and the host, so you must be missing something. So make sure you read the LinkedIn comments along the way. Want to be able to give the last 5 minutes to Aaron. If there are any questions out there, please drop them in the chat. Oh, there's Claudia from Portugal. She's saying hello. Okay. We got the last 5 minutes. We want to wrap this up. I'm going to put the banner here down at the bottom. 5 minutes to curtain call. So in the last 5 minutes, I'll be looking for any comments or questions you wanted to ask either of us. But in the meantime, Aaron, right, my favorite quote of all time, one of my favorite quotes of all time is, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. They may look at how clumsy, this broadcast could be, but they're going to remember how they felt, right? Did they have energy? Were those two a snooze fest? Was Will to this? Was Aaron great? What do you want to leave the folks with in our last 5 minutes?
I think the biggest thing I want people to go with is like inspiration is one thing, action is another. Like I've done motivational speaking before, and what I always felt empty about with motivational speaking was it was all inspiration and not enough action. And so I want everyone here to really just reflect and challenge you to think about what is the purpose behind the community you're building. Is it to serve a specific thing for your family, for your life? What's your why? And I also want to encourage you to think about a social impact to tie to that why, right? If you can honestly identify whatever it is, there are literally billions of people in this world, and if a fraction of those people cared enough to address one single social impact, the change that we could have would be monumental. And so I would love for you all to think about the actions you can take, how you can start tying specific purposes to your why of the community you're building on LinkedIn, and know that there is no competition. Like Will said earlier, we
Yep.
all
Right.
we all have powerful communities, and we all can intermingle within our communities. There is no need to be jealous of anybody. Um, we all
None at
have
all.
something that we care about and something that we're going to be passionate and lead. And so think about that, and start small. One of the things that we talked about before the broadcast was the size of the community doesn't matter. You don't need a large community to make a difference. You can have a group of 3 people who care a lot about something, and they can change the world just as powerfully as 1,000 or 100,000. And so start where you're at, focus on the community you have, empower them, thrive with them, and invest in them, because they are just as important as the next 1,000, 100,000. And so believe in the people that you're working with and do it with passion. Drive something actionable in this life.
I love that. It's the why, right? Why are we doing this? And it come everything you're doing, it just comes through. I just anybody watching this live or in the replay, just reach out to Aaron. And I just really I want this platform and I want this weekly broadcast to be about supporting this community. That I've been blessed to be able to do this, and I just it's amazing to have a guest like yourself, and it's about depth. It's about making an impact. And if it's a dozen people, that's okay, right? It's not trying to change the world, but if you can impact 12 people, they impact another 12, and so on and so on. I think it's just super powerful. So I've gone a little bit over time. I want to be mindful of your time, but I have to thank you, Aaron, and I hope you come back. I know we've got a whole list of people that will be joining us. And if there's anything that I can do or anybody who joined us today, I would love to be able to help. This is a community. I think we love commenting on each other's posts, and you could see how active the thread here is, because I can't believe there's that many positive people in the world. And it's just wonderful to be part of it. And thank you from the bottom of my heart. And what was it? What was the term you called your wife? You had a heart melting
Yamaneses.
and explain that to the group here.
Yeah. So first, Will, thank you so much for the platform and for sharing it with us and just sharing your heart. Like, you didn't make mention of anything, right? You have an incredible thing called Aspiring Human and Inspiring Better Human, and like just the kindness in your heart and your soul to just do good things and to encourage other people. It's tangible, it's palpable in every post that you put every single day. So obviously, if
Thank you.
you're here and you are not following Will yourself and you're not part of his community, like please go ahead and jump into his comments, follow him, connect with him, because he's a wonderful human being. Um, I call my wife Mia Manacer. She is from Mexico, and so when we first met, my Spanish, I was the least confident Spanish speaker, and so one of the first conversations we had was about the sunset and sunrise, and in broken Spanish, mostly in English, I was trying to explain to her how much I loved watching the sunset and the sunrise, and
Oh,
so
Aaron.
huh?
You froze. You may have to repeat that. You froze on me, but it's worth. It
Okay.
bears repeating. It's worth repeating.
So the story is
I
that
got to the part where you said sunset, broken Spanish.
okay. And so a lot of broken Spanish, and she helped me through it. And so I eventually learned how you say sunrise in Spanish, and it's mi amanecer. And so that has always been the thing that I've called her in all the letters I've written to her and in my life. And just she is my sunrise. And so that is what I
That's
was talking
wonderful.
about.
That's absolutely wonderful. On that, you can't do better than calling your wife Sunrise. Great. So thank you to everyone who has tuned in today, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody next week. And yes, Aaron, I think there's a thread going on here that they want you back. So anytime you've got something to talk about, just ping me and we'll get you back here. So I appreciate
Okay.
it.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone. Have a great Wednesday, and I'll see you in the green room in 2 seconds there, Aaron. Thank you. Thank you.
Love you all. Thank you.
Take care.